to start lying down our backs. And for my couple of friends who just joined, put something slidable underneath you so that we can move our feet and slide them around for the first bit. And then when you're ready, meet me on your back. Couple of options depending on how it feels in your back body against the floor. You have the option of putting feet on the ground, feet a little wide and leaning the knees in. You also have the option of extending the legs out. They're both really wonderful. It really just depends on what feels good in the body. So check in. You might try both of them and then take the one that feels awesome. Hello, friends just joining. If you have a blanket, put a blanket underneath you. Your arms are going to come out and walk those shoulder blades just lightly down the back. Turn the palms up so you find that beautiful open collarbone. And then once you're in that position, whatever your position is, go ahead and close the eyes. And we're going to pay attention to our back body and the points of our back body against the floor. All right, so we're going to start at the skull. You're going to notice the skull on the floor itself, just that sensation or the pressure, but also what part of the skull are you on? You know, are you on more on the top of the skull or more on the skull towards the neck or right somewhere in the middle? Don't correct anything, just notice at this point in time. And then bring your awareness to your neck. Is your neck really close to the floor or is your neck really far away from the floor or somewhere in between? And then check into your shoulder blades and notice whether or not they're kind of flattened between the floor and the rib cage, or are they moving up towards your ears or up towards the sky? And then notice beneath the shoulder blades, kind of that mid band of the back, kind of bra line area, we could call it, or kidney bands, somewhere in that region. Notice what's happening there. Again, is that point of your spine and your ribs making contact with the floor, or is it floating up away from the floor? And then bringing the awareness into the low back. Check in with your low back and notice if your low back is down on the floor or if it's up away and how far it is away from the earth. And as you go through too, you can also notice tenderness, if it's heavier on the right side or the left side, of course, those kinds of things. And then the last bit, I'd love for you to pay attention to your sacrum. That's that triangular shaped bone. For any of my friends who were there on Tuesday, that bone, any of my friends just joining us, it's okay, don't worry, you don't have to know what the sacrum is, but it is a triangular shaped bone on the back of your pelvis that you're lying upon right now. I'm wondering if you're lying on the side that's a little bit more towards the tailbone or somewhere in the middle, or is it more that your tailbone is light and the back rim of the pelvis and the sacrum are down on the ground? So that's kind of the blueprint of the body. We'll move around and every once in a while we'll come back to this position and we'll just check in and see if things are changing at all back there. Without judgment, no good, no bad, just noticing. Let's go ahead and go into the breath for a few breaths before we begin moving. And the breath I love, love, love to work with is the soft belly breath. It's the basis for almost all of the yogic breath, right? So when you inhale, the belly is so soft that the belly floats away from the spine. And then when you exhale, the belly is so soft that it floats back down towards the spine. And so the terminology that I'm using hopefully indicates that this is not effortful, right? And we don't feel strain. We're not forcing the belly up or forcing the belly down. We're literally just letting the belly move on the breath. It's just so soft that the diaphragm has room to move down towards our organs, right? The abdominal cavity to pull air in the lungs. That's literally what's happening in your body. And when you exhale, that diaphragm moves back up to expel the air out of the lungs. Thus, the belly moves back down towards the ground or towards the spine. And if it's moving fast, you might slow it down a little bit. I guess that would be my one request and the one way to change the breath a little bit. But of course, for everything I say, there are folks who have variations and different things going on where that's not right for you. So at any point in time in class today, please, please find the variation that's right for you. I just give suggestions and I consider every class I teach to be a choose your own adventure yoga class. So next we're going to go ahead and we're going to interlace our hands and start to push our palms up away from us towards the ceiling. And then push up so high initially that your shoulders come up off the earth a little bit and that area between the shoulder blades lengthens. And then go ahead and let those shoulders come all the way down to the ground. And without being aggressive, really move them down into the earth just a little more than you would if you were resting them. And one more time, you're going to push the palms up so much your shoulders lift up, and we go a little too far this way, right? Too far for where we're going to end up in the middle, that is. And then exhale again, let those shoulder blades come down, kind of pull them together just a little bit and go a little beyond your happy medium, we'll call it. And then come right into the center place where the shoulders are on the earth, but they're resting and we're not boxing them down. Now, keeping the shoulders in that soft position, you're going to start to reach your arms overhead any amount. And this is one of the first moves that you might really be doing this morning with your physical body. So please go slow, please be gentle, right? And if it goes into your low back, the first thing I would say was reach your buttocks forward to the front of the mat, the foot side, so that you don't shorten your low back or compress, right? Or you just don't bring the arms as low. That's okay. So buttocks bones reach to the foot side of the mat as your hands reach to the head side of the mat. And we're just lengthening that whole side body. You might feel it more in your side ribs or your armpits or wherever that is. If it feels like wholly pinching point in your shoulder, get the heck out of Dodge. Go ahead and inhale and bring those arms back up. And then go ahead and just release the hands out to the side, palms up. Separate your knees. And we're going to go into windshield wiper a couple of times. So let the knees swish over to the right. Windshield wiper twist is its nickname anyway. Inhale the knees back up. And then exhale the knees over to the left. So that's the pattern, right? Inhale the knees back up. If you have a different breathing pattern, take it. Knees to the right, head might turn to the left so we get the neck involved if it's okay. And inhale the knees back up. And then exhale the knees over to the left and let the head gently turn to the right if that's okay with your neck. Inhale back up. Now pause in the middle. Walk your feet back into hip distance and extend your right leg all the way out. So we're going to go into a similar but slightly different motion. This is where we're going to start to do some of that sliding and why we have this darn blanket down, right? So you're going to let your right heel slide up towards your, I'll show my this side so you can see it a little better. You're going to slide your right heel up towards your hip, but don't go too far. Let your right leg be really heavy and just lay down towards the ground, right? And then slide that out. For any of my friends who know yogurt pretty good, this would be half bound angle. So go ahead and let that right heel slide up, right? Just so we get that motion down and slide that forward. I'm going to switch to my actual right leg now. So inhale, right heel slides up, and this time let the left leg fall over. So similar to where we just were. And then the left knee comes up and the right leg slides all the way out. So this is our new pattern. Bring the right heel up, nice and heavy right thigh, left knee just swooshes over. And left knee comes up and extend the right leg out. Hopefully this feels really gentle in the hips and the sacrum. Right knee moves out. And then this time when the left leg falls over, if it's okay, swing the left leg up towards the right armpit. And then bring that foot back down to the ground. And we'll come to what I'm calling neutral, our neutral for this posture, this series. Left knee on the floor, left foot on the ground, knee bent, and right leg extended. So again, right knee slides out, that left knee falls over and then just swooshes up in an arc towards the armpit and comes back down and slides back out. Now, assuming it's okay, we're going to hold this the next time. The right heel slides up, the left knee falls over, and bring the left knee towards the chest. If it's okay, your right hand can come up and can help hold that left thigh in place. You could leave the foot on the ground if you're like, no way, Jose, that's too much. You might turn your head to the left and soften that left shoulder down. And without being aggressive or aggro, right, which is our tendency in today's society, I think, for many of us, we might grab or strap the left foot with our right hand and just really gently start to straighten that left leg any amount. It doesn't have to straighten all the way. If you reach that left hip down to the right corner of the mat, and that left shoulder stays nice and put, right? Or towards the bottom right corner of the mat. I think I said that wrong. You're going to lengthen through that outer right thigh, maybe buttocks, maybe low back. And again, if it feels too extreme, keep the knees bent, keep the left foot on the ground. And bend the right knee, left knee for anyone who did it. Right, lefts are already off today. I can tell you that for just from this little bit. So bring the knees back up, walk your feet a little wide, lean the knees in, soften the arms down a little bit. If you prefer to extend the legs, please do. Go back to your blueprint pose. That's what I guess I'll call it. And just notice if the body feels any differently than when we were lying here moments ago before we started physical movement. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk the feet back into hip distance and extend our left leg out. So we're starting with just the left leg. We drag, slide that left heel back towards our buttocks bone. I don't go very high, right? And I extend that out. I let the left leg be uber heavy. I let the right hip lift with it a little bit if it wants to. The left hip can drop. We're really loosey-goosey in the hip girdle right now, right? Letting it just naturally, like seaweed, like algae. I used that imagery on Tuesday. Now, the next time that it goes up, maybe that right leg just gently falls over. So similar to windshield wiper we just did. Right knee comes up, the left leg slides out. Once you see the motion, you get it down, stop looking at the screen so you don't crank your neck, yeah? And I mean that lovingly if that sounded harsh. Bring the right knee up and slide that left leg out. And if you're not where I am, it's okay. Now that left heel slides up, the right knee comes over, and now maybe that right knee swings in an arc up towards your left armpit-ish and comes back down. It doesn't have to come up very high. It can stay lower. It's okay. What's okay in your body, right? And that's the new motion. Left knee slides out, right knee folds over, and then kind of swings in an arc up towards the left armpit. So I didn't say that at the beginning, but we're going to focus a lot on the low back and sacrum again today. It seems to be the main place that a lot of people are just continually having tightness and issues. That right knee is going to stay up and in if it's okay. Maybe left hand comes to that thigh and just helps hold it in position. Maybe head turns to the right. Now, stay there for a moment. We might go to that extension, but give the body time to unwind, right? Maybe that right foot sits in the left hand or in a strap, and we start to straighten that right leg any amount. It doesn't have to straighten all the way. The objective is just to get a little stretch, not to hurt ourselves, right? And then if I could, I would put my hand, with your permission, of course, in your right hip, and I would pull your right hip a little forward into the bottom left corner of your mat, even as the right shoulder stayed on the earth. And hopefully that would provide a beautiful stretch somewhere in the outer right thigh / hip / low back, just that right side line, we'll call it. Take another breath from there. And then bend the knee, bring the foot back down to the ground, both knees come up. And one more time, find your blueprint pose, however you started class, and pause for a moment and just notice what's happening, particularly in the lower body. That's the main region that we're working in right now. And then walk your feet back to hip distance or put your feet on the ground, knees bent. And let's bring our right leg into the body. You can interlace around the shin or behind the thigh, whatever feels best. And as you hug that knee in, I want you to notice how your low back rounds into the floor. And then you're going to let that knee move away and let the low back come away from the floor a little bit. And then pull that thigh in and round the spine down. And move the knee away and let that rounding come out of the spine. One more time, but this time we'll stay with it. We're going to pull that belly down a little bit and amplify. So add a little abdominal action. Take an inhale with an exhale. Push your low floating ribs down to lift your nose up towards your knee. Doesn't matter if your nose touches the knee. Don't worry about it. Soften the shoulders, the neck as much as you can, and come back down. So we're just starting to say hi to that core. Bring the right leg down to the ground. Bring the left leg in. Interlace behind the thigh or in front of the shin. They're both totally awesome. And then go ahead and pull the knee in, feel your spine round down, soft shoulders. And then move the knee away and feel how you get a little arch in your spine probably, right? Low back curve. And then pulling that in, now we're rounding the spine, the low back down. And moving that leg away. So just baby cat cows for anyone who knows cat cows. And this time when you bring the knee in, you're going to hold the knee in. I want you to add that abdominal action of pulling your abdomen down, pull the low floating ribs down, and maybe lift the upper body. Now, if that hurts your neck, why on earth would you do that? Hug the knee and the nose to each other. And again, I mean those things with love, right? Listen to your body, love your body. It's on the same team as you are. And release the body down. Bring both legs in. You can put your hands on them and maybe rocking a little bit from right to left. Now keep your knees into your chest without your hands. As a matter of fact, your hands are going to come behind your head and you're going to let your elbows soften towards the earth. Depending on your shoulder girdle, they might not come all the way down. If you have pain, support the shoulder higher with a block or some such thing. Take an inhale from there, and with an exhale, you're going to pull the low floating ribs down, bring the elbows up and in and towards the knees. Again, they don't have to touch the knees. That's not the objective. Let go of that stuff in your head. Inhale, when you come down, you're going to push lightly down into your shoulders and your upper arms and arch the back. And exhale, pull the belly down, round the low back. So think cat pose as we come up and in. You could do this with your head on the ground the whole time if your neck is feeling really sensitive or your shoulders are feeling sensitive. And coming up and in, and then we're going to add a piece. So if it's okay with your abdominals, you're going to bring your feet down to the ground as your elbows come down towards the ground, right? And arch the back. And then exhale, now pull the knees up and in as the elbows come up and in. Low belly pulling down like the Dickens, right? Here's the new one. Inhale, here we are in our pattern. So you could leave the knees in if that feels better in your low back, or if it feels like this is okay, but really make sure you're supporting with your low abdomen for every single bit of this, every move that we do, right? Now, the next time you're up and in, stay in. I don't want you to try to move your elbow towards your knee. I just want you to do windshield wiper the knees to the left as the elbows, windshield wiper to the right, and then back to center, and windshield wiper the knees to the right and elbows to the left. So again, I'm not shortening my body, moving my elbows towards my knees or my knees towards my elbow. I'm just swooshing them from right to left, but in opposite directions. And of course, the effect of that is I get this really wonderful ringing action through my abdominal cavity. You could still do an element of this on your back or just lay down and rest for a moment. We're almost done, guys. And then come back to your center, release the upper body down first, and then release one leg down and then the other, and find your resting pose. And we'll take about 3 breaths here, just in softness. And again, you might check into your back body, those points of the whole back of the torso, really, I walked you through from the skull all the way down to the hips. And notice what's happening. So we are going to come off of our backs, but in a moment, we're going to go into our bellies first. You're going to roll over onto your belly. I'm hilarious, aren't I? I am to myself anyway. You can have your hands stacked and forehead down on the hands. And again, if you need to look at me, just, look for a moment and then look away and bring your head back down so you're not straining your neck, please. And I'm going to leave my head just a little higher for vocal quality. So first of all, you're just laying on your belly. And I want you to notice how your relationship to the breath has changed when that belly is down on the ground, right? So when you breathe in, notice that now it's your spine that moves up away from the belly. And when you exhale, it's the spine that moves back down towards the belly or towards the floor, right? So just notice that. This is a really great way, by the way, for my low back sensitive friends. Just this simple prone breathing is such a great way to extend and expand the back body. The low back, I should say. Now we're going to add that bound angle in again. What? Butterfly, cobbler's pose. The right knee is going to slide out to the right. If you need more padding, you could go wider with that blanket, and then you're going to slide that right leg all the way back. Just for the right side. Right knee slides out to the right. Again, don't get too muscular with it. Keep it really soft, even if it means the knee doesn't come all the way up, and exhale it back. If you were watching me, now you know what's going on. Turn your head down and soften the neck. Inhale and leave that knee to where it is now. Right? You might even think of sliding the right knee out away from the left hip or further to the right if that helps you find a little expansion in that inner right groin area. Don't hurt yourself, please. Any of my gentlemen friends who have had or have the possibility of a hiatal hernia, you are being so careful right now. And this is not going to be for everybody, but maybe you start to straighten the right leg out a little bit. It might go the full way, it might not. That right hip might lift up a little bit away from the earth. That's totally fine. If you can straighten the leg somewhere out to the right side, it can be lower than where mine is, right? It doesn't have to be in the same place. You're going to push that inner heel out and away and hug your right buttocks in so that that hip has a little pressure down into it. It's minor. It's not crazy, right? This is all subtle stuff. And breathing from there. And then go ahead and bend that knee, bring the heel back towards you and slide that leg all the way out. Pause for just a moment and notice if there's any difference in that right hip than what was just happening and any difference from the right hip to the left hip. And then we're going to do the other side. You won't see it as well on me because I'm away from camera, but you don't really need to see anything. Slide that left knee up. And slide that down. Again, with this, I really like to think of myself as kelp in the ocean and letting that left knee just kind of slide up. So we're just going with the flow. There's not a lot we have to accomplish here and do, right? We're just letting the body kind of lead us. Let that left knee slide out to wherever its point is.
And then you might stay right here. You might start to extend. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't extend the leg yet. I'm so sorry. First, maybe slide the left knee away to the left a little bit and see if you can't expand the front side of that inner groin just a little bit. I forgot that part. I'm apologizing. I'm apologizing, you guys. Can't you tell? My brain is not firing completely today. And then go ahead and now start to extend that left leg any amount. And if you can get it towards straight, even if the means the heel is further down towards the bottom of the mat, it's okay. If the left hip lifts a little bit, it's okay. But as you push your inner left heel out, can you hug your left glute, your left buttocks in just a little bit, just so you feel a little pressure on the back side, helping open the front side of that hip? And then go ahead and bend that knee and extend that leg all the way back out to where you started. And now we're in resting pose, 3 breaths. Again, maybe playing with expanding your back, low back, I should say, as you breathe in. If there's another area in your body and it's not your low back, breathe into that. If you're like, "Ooh, my right shoulder blade is bugging me this morning," breathe into it. We have one more piece here. Stretch your arms out so they're in front of you, right? Palms face each other, and I'm karate chopping the floor with my pinky fingers. But I'm going to gently slide my arms back just a little bit so that my shoulders are deeply in the sockets and my chest lifts just a little bit, right? So I just slide back a little bit. And I'm going to point my big toes behind me and push my feet down so my thighs get pretty buoyant here and active. Move the tailbone down, or I could say pull your belly forward to between your hands. It's a traction action. So this shouldn't be in your low back. If it is, come down lower or stack your hands, and you'll only do your feet. You won't do your upper body of this. But otherwise, we're going to go swimming in our ocean, right? So now from there, getting nice and long, you're going to inhale your right hand a little further forward, left toes a little further back, AKA they lift up, but do it because they move away from each other and lengthen. And bringing that down. And inhale, left arm, right leg. They lift, but again, let it be that they're reaching away from one another, and the elongation keeps the belly toned in and brings the limbs up. Yeah. And inhale, right arm, left leg. I'll talk a little bit less, but keep the low belly toned. And exhale down. Inhale, left arm, right leg. And exhale down. We have one more on each side, friends. Inhale, right arm, left leg, low belly toning, low belly toning, low belly toning. Exhale down. That's your low back protection. Yeah. Inhale, left arm, right leg. And exhale down. Before we come up, let's take one more breather with our hands, forehead on the back of our hands, and everything softens entirely. You might even just wiggle your hips a little bit from side to side and let everything be a little jello-y down there. And another one that I love, maybe bending the knees, letting the knees sway a little bit right to left, almost like windshield wiper, or I could maybe call it reverse windshield wiper. And again, let those hips be pretty loosey-goosey. This is really a beautiful movement for the sacrum. For most, I shouldn't say for all, but for most of us, our sacrum and our low back really like this. And coming back through center, we're going to bring our hands next to our low floating ribs, toning the low belly in. We push the floor away. And before we get this blanket out of here, let's take a quick child's pose for lengthening, hopefully, the low back and the hips. Now, knees a little wide, big toes together, buttocks towards the heels. If your hips hurt, you could stay higher. And then today, lift the body up a little bit before you go into it. We're just going to see if we can get a little extra length in the spine, right? So I sit to whatever my lowest level is. You could be higher. And then I'm going to reach my arms forward, and I'm going to reach my chest forward and reach my chest forward and reach my chest forward and reach my chest forward. Longest spine I could find, right? And now I get to soften down. Your forehead can come to the ground. Again, I'm bringing the floor up to my forehead, both for my neck and for vocal quality. Let's take 2 breaths here. Breathe down into the back of your hips. And that may sound like the goofiest thing. We're all intelligent humans. We know your air doesn't go there, right? That's not where your lungs are. However, believe it or not, you can expand all the way down into your hips, down by your tailbone with the breath. I feel it in people's body daily. Now go ahead and stretch your arms out and plant your palms down, straight arms, and push into your hands, forearms lift. So now we're getting a little more active in that upper body, right? We'll just kind of keep adding strength in bits and pieces. Take one more breath.
And now we want to get rid of this blanket because we're going to come up into downward dog. So go ahead and take a moment. You can fold it up if you want padding for your knee later, or you can just whoosh it off to the side. And coming back towards that child's pose, that extended, our active child's pose, we call it, right? We push down, the forearms lift, the triceps turn in, and then from there, inhale up to hands and knees. Pause. If you're already in downward dog, bear with me for a moment. Reach the chest forward and move towards cow pose, right? But then pull your belly up. Now keep your upper back, curl the toes under, keep your upper back, keep the knees bent, keep the upper back. Do you get where I'm going with that? I'd love you to keep your upper back. So the knees are really pretty bent, yeah? Now from there, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pulse that right heel down to the ground, any amount, doesn't have to straighten all the way. And bend the right knee. And then you're gonna pulse that left heel down, any amount, and bend the knee. If it feels too much to be in full downward dog, friends, you could always do half downward dog. You are still paging nice and gently through your feet. And then with both knees bent a little bit, I want you to go ahead and I want you to let your hips swish over to the right. Feel that left back side waist stretch. Come back through center and hips to the left, feeling that stretch on the right side of the body. And we're gonna do that one more time. A refinement, should you want it, hips go to the right. Reach your left hand further forward and push your left hip back and to the right. And come back to center. And again, as my hips go to the left, I now push with my right hand like crazy and I reach my right hand away from my hip away from that. Come back to center. Let's get out of those arms. Walk your hands back to your feet. You'll end up at the back of your mat. And once you're there, hands on the shins, you're going to reach your chest forward, come halfway up. Keep that belly toned in and bring your hands onto your hips, elbows up. Keep that belly toned in and come all the way up to standing. So if you're someone with sensitive low back, that belly toning can be one of your best friends in the whole wide world. It might be part of the reason that your back is sensitive to begin with, because that belly forgets to help you. And it just kind of does what I call the copper tone baby belly, right? And you can see the compression in my low back. So you're standing up at the top of your mat. If you're not, meet me there. I didn't say that. I don't know why you would be. And if you have blocks for my block friends, you can have those blocks up there too. We're going to put a knee down on the first round. You could put a padding down for your knee or just have it standing by like I do. Standing up nice and tall. Inhale, reach those arms out and up. Exhale, you're going to go into goal post arms. We're doing something slightly different, my regulars. Go ahead and move your elbows back a little bit without your ribs flaring out, right? And feel the shoulder blades move in, the chest opens. Now reach the arms back up. Maybe palms come together. Maybe you get that upper back bend, but don't hurt your low back, please. Exhale, folding in. I'd suggest bent knees if you have any sensitivity in your low back these days. Hands on the shins, reaching the chest forward. Keep your spine long, bend your knees, use your blocks or your hands on the ground and step your left foot back. Now we are going to bring that left knee down, so feel free to pat it. Bring the left knee down to the ground and uncurl the toes. And either on your fingertips or on blocks, you're going to lengthen and straighten the arms and get the longest spine that you can. And you remember how I just told you about the copper tone baby belly? Mine doesn't hear every single time unless I ask it to turn on, right? And I'm not going to shove it to my spine, but I'm going to move my thighs in towards imaginary blocks, toning the low belly up lightly and lengthening the spine. So now hopefully your low back is all situated, right? Now maybe that right arm reaches forward and away, bicep next to ear, right hip back, a little extra toning in the abdomen, right? And then maybe the left arm also reaches forward and we hover here. Push the left shin down. You don't have to do this. You can leave both hands on the ground for goodness sake. Inhale, come all the way up to your low lunge. Hands could totally stay on the blocks, by the way. Bring your hands to the thighs for just a moment. Now, when you push into those thighs, I would love you to push the thigh down to pull the frontal hip points up and elongate the low back. Now reach the arms back up. Keep your low back elongated. When I ask you to move your tailbone, the adjustment I often give people is I'll put a block right on their tailbone and I'll move their tailbone forward. It keeps your low back long, but holy crap, front of the left hip is saying, good morning. Say good morning back. Thank you, left psoas, for all you do. Even though you're sitting all the time and I constantly have you in a contracted position, and that's why you're so tight these days. Inhale and exhale, bringing the hands down. We're going to step back to downward facing dog, right? So that's the big V pose, but you could leave your knees down. I'm going to show that just in case anyone would like a variation, and just walk your hands forward for half downward dog. You're not bearing as much of the weight, so it's much easier on shoulders and wrists and fingers and such. We're going to try and get that left foot forward, friends. Here's how we're going to try to do it. We're going to inhale that left leg up into the air behind you, and then we're going to pull the belly in, and we're going to pull the nose towards the knee, and we're going to step the left foot forward. So some of the stuff we did on the floor actually tried to prep us for that, right? We're going to bring that right knee down, and either on blocks or fingertips on the ground, get the longest arms you can, the longest spine you can, and that little bit of toning in that low belly. Now keep that. Move those thighs into imaginary blocks for my friends who know that. If you don't know a cue, I know I speak a foreign language, friends. Reach that left arm forward, keep the left hip moving back in opposition, and feel that extra work the core has to do right now. You don't have to do this. You could leave your hands on the blocks. Maybe the right arm also reaches forward, and then push the right shin down as you reach the fingers away. Keep the belly toned up. Remember our swimming action? Inhale, coming up into low lunge. Now put your hands on your thigh for a moment. And as I push my thigh down, I'm doing it with the intention of pulling my frontal hip points up, AKA I'm elongating my low back. Imagine, if you will, that a Crystal Joy Johnson grabbed a block with your permission. I would only do this with your permission, right? And I push that tailbone forward. You keep your low back long, right? And then holy right psoas. Reach those arms back up, and soft shoulders, and pause, and just give a little awareness, a little attention to that beautiful right psoas muscle. It is one of the strongest muscles in your entire body. And every time you sit down, it is contracted. It's not to guilt you, right? But we're sitting a lot these days. So boy, oh boy, do these babies get contracted a lot. Take an inhale. I love you, psoas. Bring the hands down, and you're going to step forward to the top of your mat. However you need to, gently. Inhale, reach the chest forward. I say it like it's easy to do necessarily. Exhale and fold in. Hands on the hips, elbows up. Elongate your spine on the journey up. Keep it as long as you can until you get up to the tippity top. And bring the arms down by the side. And just pause for a moment. Again, just tune into your body and notice what's happening in there. Adding on. Inhale, reaching those arms out and up. Exhale and fold. Feel free to bend the knees, sensitive back, friends. Inhale that chest forward. And bend your knees, plant your hands. We're going to step that right foot back this time. Bring the knee down initially. We'll maybe straighten that in a little bit, but maybe not. And we're going to inhale and reach those arms forward and up. So we were just here. So all the same stuff, right? Keeping the belly up, the frontal hip points up, the tailbone moves forward, etc. Now we're gonna try to see about hooking the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. If you're like, oh my goodness, that seems extreme, you're just gonna drop your right hand under the shoulder, okay? But I'm gonna talk the elbow hook first. So take the left hand to the left thigh, lengthen out of the right side waist and get as long as you can through that whole side waist, and then hook the elbow, and maybe those palms are gonna come together to touch, right? Or right hand just comes under right shoulder, left arm might reach up. Now from there, my elbow pushers, right? We're going to push the elbow and the knee together to rotate the spine, move the shoulders away from the ears, maybe turn and look up. And if you want, you can curl your right toes under. If your body wants, not you. Push that right heel back as you reach the chest forward. Elongate and try to straighten that right leg and find your balance. Ha, 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 ha. Looking down might help that, by the way. Last piece, maybe, maybe not. You're going to extend your arms out, and you're going to reach your right hand down like it could grab the inner left arch. That's from Tuesday, I think we did that move. Inhale, maybe it was last Thursday. And exhale, release down wherever in the heck you were, and step back to downward facing dog. And breathe. Your version, if you don't want downward dog or you want a child's pose at any point in time, you know you get to take it. Choose your own adventure yoga class, friends. So we need the right leg forward. So we're going to inhale the right leg up into the air behind us, just, and then round the spine, right? Pull the nose and the knee together like we did on the floor, and try to step that foot forward. Bring the left knee down to start. And inhale, reach those arms forward and up, and come into Anjaneyasana. But find everything we just had here moments ago as best you can. Now, maybe that elbow hook, I'll talk to that first. I'll give the modification later. Right hand, right thigh. Before you just hook the elbow, lengthen out of that left side waist. Get as much space as you can, right? And then lay across the thigh and hook the elbow. Palms together if that's where you are, or left hand under shoulder and you just reach the right arm up or hand on hip. Okay, that's the modification. Now, my elbow pushers, we're pushing the elbow and the knee together to rotate the rib cage. Stage one, or this might be stage 3 by this time. And then from there, we might rotate the head and turn and look up. We might not, especially if we know we're doing this next thing. We might curl the left toes under and so slowly push the heel back as you reach the chest forward like you were swimming on your belly earlier. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen in 2 different directions. Last piece, maybe not. You extend the arms out. You could do this with your knee down too, by the way. And you try to reach that left hand like you could grab your inner right arch, pardon me, and you elongate and you twist and you breathe. Holy crap, inhale. Exhale, ooh, bring the hands down. Step forward to the front of your mat. Inhale, reaching that chest forward. Exhale, fold. Hands on hips, elbows up, maybe knees bent as we come all the way up with a long spine. Oh, bring those hands down. And again, either a really soft focus, just taking in your whole periphery, right? Or close the eyes, but either way, turn inward. What in the world is happening inside your body right now? My breath is moving very fast. I'm going to see about slowing that down. My jaw is clenched. I'm going to release that. I don't need that to be clenched right now, right? These are my things. What are yours? 20 years into this practice, friends, and every single time I still have to scan and look and pay attention and slow my breath down, all of it, every time. Okay, so go ahead and turn facing the long edge of your mat, whichever way works best for you to be able to see the device if you need to. You can move the blanket if you were working with one. We are going to do side angle if that makes anyone want to have a block on standby to drop down. I'll give you that option when we get there. I'm going to take a quick drink, friends. So go ahead. I'll give you the sassy version, but you can just step wide, and especially if you have a sensitive low back. But if you want a little energy and you've got a little friskiness in you, you bring your fingertips together, inhale, we bend our knees, and we separate our arms and our legs at the same time and jump it open. Or you just step open. They're all beautiful. Right? Now, from there, if you look down, your ankles are about underneath your wrist-ish, yeah? And hands on the hips. We're going to turn our left toes in, our whole right leg out. Try not to fall over like I just about did. And inhale those arms out nice and wide. And we're going to pump in and out of warrior 2 a couple of times. Exhale, bend that right knee over the second toe. Any amount. Inhale up. Some people say 90 degrees. That might not be your body, right? Exhale, bending in and just feeling that length. Ankle underneath knee is helpful, though. That's knee protection. Inhale and straighten. We'll hold the next one and work it, friends. Exhale, go ahead and come on in. So again, you might look down, adjust the foot if you need to. If it's too far forward, pull it back, and too far back. Oh, that's so hard on the knee joint. Geez Louise, right? And from there, we're going to move into reverse warrior. Left hand, left thigh. Lengthen the right arm up and then lengthen out of the right side waist, but keep dropping your right hip down as you reach away from the hip joint. And maybe you turn and look beyond your right bicep-ish, whatever that is in your body. Softer the right shoulder is, the easier that is, by the way. Take an inhale there. Now we're going to lengthen it out and reach it all the way over until that elbow comes down to the leg. Start here, even if you're a block grabber. I'll get you there in a second. Reach that left arm over. Hand on hip would be modification, shoulder back, right? Reach that left heel down and lengthen, 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 lengthen. See if you can push this arm a little into the leg to get a rotation so the ribs and the chest face me or forward. And then if you want to drop that arm down like we did on the block on Tuesday, you could put the block in there to bring, that was about where your foot was, right? You remember that? So you could bring that block in and put the hand on the block. Push your elbow and your knee together. Keep hugging the right hip in. You remember when we were laying on the ground on our bellies and I had to do this kind of stuff, right? There's a reason. There's a method to the madness, friends. Soften the shoulders away from the ears and maybe turn and look up past the left bicep. And we're going to stay here for another breath. I think this is the hardest part of the challenge.
Keep that right heel grounded and inhale. Keep the legs, come up to warrior two. Try not to move the legs. Try not to move the legs. Holy crap, are you kidding me? Woo! Straighten the legs, turn the toes forward, and move that block if that block was in your way. Okay. We're going to turn our right toes in and turn the whole left leg out. And inhale the arms out wide. Soft shoulders. And then with an exhale, we're going to bend our left knee. Let's just pump in and out a couple of times and check this out, right? Inhale, coming up. On Tuesday, we did this with our front foot on a block, by the way. Exhale and bend. It's really wonderful for sacrums. If you have SI joint issues or sacrum issues or anything, sciatica is a really good way to do this pose. Go ahead and bend that left knee in and pause. Checking down, you do want to have that ankle under the knee. That's not an absolute, but it is helpful for the knee joint, so it doesn't support so much weight, right? And then we're going to move into that reverse warrior. Right hand, right thigh. I'm all out of breath. Reach that left arm up. Keep that left hip heavy and lengthen out and away from the hip as you elongate through that side waist, that left side waist. Soften your shoulders, left shoulder particularly, and maybe turn and look beyond the left bicep. Notice that your left knee probably wants to move towards the device and your left hip wants to move behind you, the back side of your body, right? So can you hug those two in their respective directions like we did laying on the ground earlier? Now lengthen it out. Reach it over that side body to the left until the left elbow makes contact. Pause there for a second. Reach that right arm up and over, or just put the hand on the hip if that feels better in your body. The more that back heel, that back outer heel grounds down, we start to really enliven this whole right side body, yeah? Now maybe you push the arm and the leg a little together so you open that inner groin up a little. And if you'd like to put a block in there and slide down to the block, just make sure you're still hugging the left hip in, that the ribs are still rolling open, right? Even here. Soften the shoulders away from the ears and maybe the head turns to look up past the right bicep-ish. I say ish because, you know, it's not an exact science. What's happening in your neck, your eyes, your shoulder. Most challenging part, you ready? Make sure that left heel is down again. It's probably not. It's probably all on your toes. Left heel, come up to warrior two. Try not to change the legs. Try not to change the legs. Try not to change the legs. Inhale, almost there. Whew. Straighten the legs. Turn the toes forward. One more thing here, and then we'll come out of this standing pose. I'm simply turning sideways so you can see my side profile. You can stay facing the direction you're facing. Hands on the hips, elbows back, get nice and tall. And then we're gonna start to fold forward. We're gonna do 2 arm variations. For the first one, bend the knees if you need to and bring the hands down. And if they don't reach the floor, you could grab a block, yeah? And from there, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna elongate. You remember when we were in lunge and I had you on tippy fingers and I had you try to get straight, long arms, shoulder blades down the back, chest forward, same stuff. Maybe the legs straighten a little bit, but maybe they stay bent and that feels better in your sacrum and in your thighs. Now, walking the hands forward like downward dog. When you walk forward, don't let the weight go forward with the hands. Keep the weight distributed right over the ankles. But walk the hands forward. It's kind of like downward dog, a little bit anyway, right? Legs may or may not straighten a little bit. You can play with that again. So the weight is evenly distributed between the 4 corners of the foot. My hands are reaching forward, even pushing a little forward, so that energetically my hips move back and I get that beautiful length in the spinal column. That low belly gently toning up so my low back stays supported the whole darn time. And last piece, before we switch our arm position, imagine a big beach ball between your thighs. What would happen if you moved into that beach ball so gently? Feet don't move, that's just your thighs gently hugging in. Now, keep an element of the spine for the moment. You're gonna reach your hands back and turn your hands away, your fingers away from you, and palms can be down. Inhale, reach the chest forward, and then now you get to fold in, and you might, what I call itsy bitsy spider the fingertips even further back away from you. I like to go a little wider than shoulder distance in this variation. That feels better in my personal shoulders anyway. If the weight is all in the ball mounds, put a little more in the heel. If the weight is all in the heel, put a little more in the ball mounds. Straighten the legs any amount. They don't have to straighten all the way, but boy, when you work them towards straight, oh, hi inner groin, how you doing today? Now bend the knees a little bit, reach the chest a little forward, and move your hands under your shoulders. Pushing the floor away, we're gonna come on up.
right? But we're gonna come up with core. You could walk your feet in a little further if that feels like too much for you to do. With the knees bent, you're gonna put your left hand on your hip and then put your right hand on your right hip. Come up if you need to out of here, right? Otherwise, lengthen the chest forward as you push the hips back, elbows move up, shoulders move up. Now push your feet down mightily and come up with that long spine. And toe heel, and or if you want that spicy one, you bring the fingertips together. As my arms go out, I bend my knees and I jump my feet in. And breathe. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to come on down to our buttocks, but I like to walk us through what I call is chair pose down to the ground, right? So just so anyone who doesn't know and you're not familiar with me, I know I have some new friends here today. Well, you're going to try to squat down. We can use fingers or we can just go as far as we can go and then we come up and out a different way, right? But I'm going to talk us down as if you're coming with me, but do what you need to do for yourself. Inhale the arms forward and up. Pushing those heels down, rock the weight in the heels and find that you don't have that copper tone baby belly, right? That belly's gently hugging in. Now go ahead and bend your knees and start to sit down. Try to hover when your butt's about the height of the knees, if that's in your realm. If not in your higher, it's okay. Pull the belly in, reach the chest forward between the hands, look forward between the hands. You're hovering for a moment, I know. Move into an imaginary block between your thighs. And now go ahead. And if your knees need to go wide or your fingertips need to come back, your buttocks are gonna come down to the floor. And if you need to roll onto your back body, that's okay too. So we're gonna do a couple of seated things and then come onto our backs again. If that makes you want to sit up on a little bit of height, you got that blanket you were working with or blocks, coffee table, I don't know, what do you need, right? Be inventive. You got stuff all around you. That's one of the benefits about being at home. Bring that right knee in. And first I'm just gonna hug against it a little bit to try to lengthen my spine. And then from there, we're gonna go ahead and hug. I'm just gonna hug with my wrist. If I hug with my elbow, I lose all of my spinal length personally. Bring the right fingertips back. I'm also a very short-armed girl, so you might be at elbow. Now from there, get nice and tall. To twist, we're gonna start with this left foot. You're gonna push the left heel forward and let the left hip move forward, and then let the kidneys start to turn you in, right? Then the bra line area, then the shoulders, all the way up through the neck. Neck and head are the last thing in. Take a breath. Take 2 breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. One of the things I sometimes like to do is grab my belly flesh and pull my belly flesh back because sometimes it gets caught up on my right thigh. And then turning forward. Let that leg move over to the right. Now, knee and hip issues, support the knee and have it higher. Yeah. And if you're like, no, then you could always just do it out. You just won't get quite as much of the sideways benefit, right? So I'm gonna let my left leg go a little bit wide and I'm gonna pull my heel towards my pubic bone. You don't have to bring it in as far as mine, but whatever your edge is, right? Find that place. Now we're gonna go through 2 different spots. We're gonna go to the bent knee first, which is not the way I normally teach this. You're gonna frame your bent leg, your right leg it would be for you guys, and you're gonna turn towards the right leg. So get that belly to turn a little bit, and then you're gonna fold out over that right leg. And as you fold over the right leg, maybe that left hand is going to reach a little forward. And then as it makes contact, it pushes forward and down that way. And you're going to try to get your left buttocks to reach down and back just a little bit. And then go ahead and lift yourself up, I don't know, about halfway of whatever your edge is. Walk past center and walk over to frame your left leg. Take an inhale and lengthen the chest before you fold, right? Turn the belly a little towards that left thigh, and then go ahead and start to soften down in. If all you're feeling is left hamstring, I would bend your left knee a little bit. Maybe that right hand comes across to the outer leg, and you push down, kind of glide down to pull out of your right lower back. Now, my right buttocks totally just came with me when I did that, so I'm going to invite my right buttocks to reach down and back, even as I barely rotate my belly towards my left thigh. And hopefully in your lower right back right now. I always kind of call it around the corner from the love handle. And I'm hoping the muscle we're getting is the quadratus lumborum. The QL is its nickname. It's this, inhale, reach the chest forward and come up. It's this rectangular shaped muscle that connects the pelvis to the low back, and it can get really tight. Go ahead and grab onto that knee and bring it up and let that come on forward. Get everything back to neutral. And then we're going to bring the left leg up and in. Grab onto the leg, pull against it, and find your spinal length. Wrap wrist or elbow, depends on your arm length and your proportions. Bring the left hand back. Inhale, get tall. Before you twist, let the right heel lead the way today, especially for my sensitive low back friends. If that right heel pushes forward, the right hip moves forward, and then let it be that middle back, that mid upper back, that upper back, and then the low neck, and then the mid neck, and then the upper neck, until the head is the very last thing to turn into the twist. You might bring your hand, the left hand, sorry, onto the belly flesh and pull the belly flesh back into the left. And if you've never done that, you might try it. I don't know, you might not like it, but I really like it. And turn the body forward, letting that knee move over to the side, supporting it. I have a sensitive knee on this side, right? And then I'm gonna let my other leg go a little wide and kind of adjust, bringing that heel in. Now we're going to fold over our bent knee first. So we're going to turn towards left leg. We're going to turn belly a little bit towards left leg and just start to fold out over that leg. And that right hand might reach kind of forward and away. Not only does it reach away, but once it makes contact with the ground again, push forward to reach your right buttocks further down and back. So again, elongation. I always like to remind people stretching is kind of like a rubber band, right? If both things move in one direction, you don't stretch a rubber band. You got to either hold one thing still and pull the other end away, or you pull the two ends away from each other. Come back on up a little bit, go through center, move over to the straight leg, right? Reach the chest forward and then start to fold over that leg. Feel free to bend the right knee if it's only your hamstring yelling at you right now. That left hand maybe comes outside the leg and glides down. And again, check in. If your left buttocks came with you on the journey, maybe invite the left buttocks to reach down and back. Steer the belly a little towards the right thigh. And let's take about 2 breaths here. Inhale that chest forward and up to come up. So we're going to start to make our way in our back. We got one twist and then we are going into Shavasana. But if you want to find things to cuddle up, if you're feeling like you might get chilly once you're still, put on your socks, grab your blanket, etc. Otherwise, when you're ready, you're going to start to roll on down to your back. You can use that core line I love so much, of course. And once you get there, you got 2 options for twist today. You got that windshield wiper where you walk the feet wide and your knees swish back and forth. That's usually a little more low back and sacrum area, front of thighs. Or you can bring the knees in a little higher to the chest. Usually that's a little more low to mid back. And then so whatever one's right for you. Let the knees move over to the right and then just pause there. My windshield wiper friends, you might put your right foot on your left thigh and soften in. My hugging knees to the chest friends, try to get that right pinky toe down. Right hand might come on outer left thigh. Both variations, maybe head turns to the left and left shoulder softens down. And then breathe, most definitely. And then inhale the knees back up. And you'll exhale, same one you're doing, right? But over to the other side. So my windshield wiper-ers, maybe left foot on right thigh, maybe not, just depends on joints really, right? And my knee hugger inner-ers, maybe that left hand on the right thigh. Both variations, you can turn your head to the right and soften the right shoulder down. And breathe. Bring the legs back up and start to get yourself situated for Shavasana, right? So you have the same 2 options we started class with. Your feet can totally be on the ground, feet wide, knees lean in. Your legs can totally, I just said totally, I love it. Your legs can totally be extended all the way out too. And you might notice maybe one felt uncomfortable at the beginning and now it's more open. Maybe your body would like the other position, right? So you can play with that now. But find the one that's the most comfortable for your body at this exact moment in time, please. Feel free to take the time to cover up with a blanket if you think you're going to get chilly or cool at all. With those arms out just a little bit and those palms up, hopefully that means the shoulders soften both away from the ears and away from the sky. You might take just the first few moments and, you might be in different leg position, but you might just notice your relationship of the torso and the back of the skull to the floor one more time. Maybe there's a little more extension or expansion somewhere. Maybe you're noticing that something feels very sensitive that didn't originally. Maybe the low back, which was way up away from the floor, is a little closer to it, etc. So what's happening back there? And as you hopefully soften every single muscle from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes, try to keep those muscles as soft as you can. And as you soften down into the floor, that mind is probably going to get pretty busy. The Buddhists call it the monkey mind. Right? As soon as the body is still and we don't have something that we have to do, the mind starts to get pretty busy. So one of the things we can do is give it something to do in the sense of bring it back to the breath and notice the breath. Or maybe you bring it back to the body and you scan your physical body again. And inevitably that mind will get busy again. You are not alone. This is everybody I've ever talked to. We just bring it right on back to the mind. To the breath or to scanning that body again. And of course, you are in your own home, so you could always just stay here and chill out for as long as you'd like, especially if it's really comfortable and you have the time. But otherwise, I'm going to talk us up. So we have just about 2 minutes left on our buttocks. So nice and slowly, you're not in a rush, but you can wiggle fingers or toes or stretch arms overhead or little bits and pieces to get you back in that beautiful physical body. And then do bend the knees when you're ready to roll to the fetal position, just so you keep it out of your low back. When you go to push the floor away, let your head turn down so your neck stays out of it and gently push the floor away and come on up to seated. That can be on a chair, that can be on blocks, it can be on your butt with cross-legged, it can be kneeling, etc. Doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. And I'd like to do just a short meditation, just so you all know, we're probably going to go about 2 minutes over. So it'll be more like 10:02 when I get you out of here. If you need to get going, I totally understand. But I want to do just a really brief seated meditation. So once you find that long spine and you're in a fairly comfortable position, there's a longer one of this, by the way, for any of my Patreon friends, and I put it up to the public. So, but a lot of us are not connected with the people that we wanted to be connected with, that we're usually connected with. Some of us have lost people even, right? So I want you to feel like wherever points of contact you have on the floor, you're sending roots down right now, and you're sending roots down into the earth. Partly that's to ground us, right? But then, I don't know if you know this or not, but in the mid 70s, they found that there was this grove of aspens, and they thought that it was each individual organisms. And then they realized that they were all connected via their root system with the help of some mycelium, some fungi. And so here was the largest organism on the planet Earth, this grove of aspens. So why am I telling you that? I think that we can use that visualization to our benefit to connect to our loved ones. You can send your roots down and you can send your roots out, and it's your visualization. So you can even imagine your loved ones, or one, you might work one person at a time, or many, all sending their roots down. And your roots, they meet, right? I don't care where they are. I don't care if they're overseas. Let your roots and your visualization meet. Let them be connected. And whatever you need to give them, love, light, attention, that sugar cookie you decorated for them, send it through your roots over to them. But it's our visualization. So let's imagine that each of them, whatever it is that we need from them, Grandma Johnson's, chicken meal, whatever that is, that's mine, right? I'm imagining them giving me what I need right now through my roots. And if you've lost someone and their soul is no longer in that physical body, you can do the root with them too. But for me personally, I just think they're standing all around us, our ancestors right now, and they're there just waiting for us to ask for their help. So maybe reach out to them and just let them know you could use some support right now. And bring your hands together in front of your chest. Exhale, bow your head. And bowing our head to our heart. In my little world, what this signifies is that I always, always refer to the heart before I ever make any decisions. Namaste. And I know Hanukkah is done, but happy Hanukkah to my happy Hanukkah friends. Happy Kwanzaa. Merry Christmas to my friends, Christmas Eve. And if you're none of those, happy solstice. And that great conjunction was so awesome. But may you all be well. And if that meditation was helpful, I've been doing that all year, my friends. It's been super helpful for me personally to feel connected to my beautiful beings I can't be with.